Good evening, SFBN fans. I'm your host, Nicki Jones, and you are watching In the Paint, a talk show dedicated to high school girls basketball in the state of Pennsylvania. On today's show, we will be talking about the Hoops for Hopes Classic that happened this past Sunday, a couple games from District 12, some power rankings, and more. So make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back. Once again, I'm your host, Nicki Jones, alongside Mike McDonald and Joe Fite. And we're here to talk about some basketball. And up first, like as promised, is the Hoops for Hopes Classic that happened this past Sunday. And Mike was there attending a few games. His team even played in the tournament. So what can you tell us? What went down there?
Yeah, right out at University of Sciences. It was a showcase for startthecure.org. If you want to check that out, it's to raise awareness for curing childhood cancer. So definitely a good cause to bring the teams out together for Hoops for Hope. But again, it was hosted by University of Sciences. Right now they're number 13 in the country for District 2 programs. Okay, so that was exciting just to be in their arena. The first game started off with CB South versus St. Basil's. I didn't get to see this game firsthand. It was at 8:30 in the morning. Our game was at 4 o'clock. I'm only human. But it was a bounce-back game. CB South this past week had two tough losses that we'll talk about against Sodderton and CB East. Okay, so to face a tough St. Basil's team the same weekend after that, they had to gather themselves, and they came out and they got a 7-point win over a tough St. Basil's team. In that game, you know, Alexa Brody's playing really well for them. You're reading a lot about her in different articles, but it was Hallie Meinl who put up 17 points against St. Basil's that day. Hallie really can run the floor. She's super athletic. She's going to go to Jefferson University next year to play basketball. She's starting to be able to shoot the ball consistently from the three-point line, and I think she gave Basil's problems running the floor so hard and getting layups. Basil, on the other hand, struggled. Their freshman, Danae Carter, who's playing really well for them, was only able to get 4 points, not able to connect from the outside from what I'm told. And their senior point guard, Cheryl Romaldi, sorry, there's three sisters on the team, but Cheryl Romaldi was held scoreless in the game, so that certainly didn't help their cause. They had a tough time midway, second quarter, third quarter, but as the game went on in the fourth quarter, they were able to get it going, but it was too little too late in the fourth quarter, but they were able to make it a game late, and unfortunately they went down by 7 to CB South, but a good bounce back game for South. The next game was Mount versus Penn Charter. Unfortunately, I did miss that game as well, but the Mount was able to get a 10-point win over Penn Charter. Both young teams, both teams still learning, still growing, trying to build something as they get later into their seasons, but the Mount was able to come out on top of that game. I did see the next game, Friends Central and Haverford. Friends Central has two Division I prospects on their team. They were able to go up and down. They were able to create offense in transition. It was back and forth. Haverford has a nice team with some size as well. Lauren Pelican, just in her first season at Haverford, she's starting to give her touches on the program there. They were playing really well. Unfortunately, Friends Central had a little too much down the stretch. Haverford had opportunities to come back and close the gap a little bit, but unfortunately couldn't capitalize. And Friends Central went up, winning the game 41-35. But another good high school basketball game. Again, if you ever have the chance to catch one of these showcases, you can see a lot of good games in one gym. You should take the opportunity. Moving on, it was Carroll versus Gwinnett Mercy. Kind of a sloppy game with both teams turning it over against pressure, but Carroll ended up putting it together a little bit better in the second half. They went up double digits. Gwinnett Mercy, Coach Lonergan started to play some more bench players to give them the opportunity. Unfortunately, the final score wasn't posted, so I didn't get to see it, but Carroll ended up winning by about 12 to 15 points, somewhere in that area. It was a nice win for them to move forward and build momentum into their season. Again, Archbishop Ryan, who was 16-0 coming into their game, they played a York Catholic out of District 3. It's the second time I've seen a District 3 team now live York Catholic and Ryan were kind of the opposites. York Catholic had a lot of tall players, a lot of forwards, and Ryan, is everybody. The tallest kid is Danielle McCurdy. She's about 5'9", 5'10", and everybody else is 5'8" or below. So different styles, different matchups. There was, again, some turnovers, throughout the game with pressure. But overall, Ryan kind of went up double digits early in the game. York Catholic made a run in the third quarter to cut it into single digits, but again, the pressure got to York Catholic in the fourth quarter, and Ryan ended up pulling out an 11-point win. So then Ryan was 17-0 at that point. We'll talk a little bit more. They ended up facing O'Hara this past week, but they ended up being 17-0 after that win. Then there was us. We played Garnet Valley. I almost had a heart attack in the first quarter. We went down 11-2. Garnet Valley has some really, really strong players, and they have a lot of size. They started 3 kids, 5'11" to 6'2", and they're good ball players. Borky, forget her first name, but she's going to end up going to Drexel in 2 years. She's only a junior. She could handle the ball some. She shot it from the outside. She could go inside. Great footwork, fundamentally sound. She hit a 3 to start the game off, and then Emily McAteer, another kid with size who stepped out and shot the long-range jumper, hit 2 threes early on us. They were the 2 kids we wanted to have most focus on, so I was pretty unhappy to start the game. We were down 11-2. We were able to turn the pressure up. We started pressing them, forcing some turnovers, which led to some offense for us. But again, we went up double digits late in the game, and then they came back. It was a back-and-forth game late, low-scoring affair, as we have a lot of those, but we won 39-33.
So what was it about your team that, was able to make this comeback and go home with the win?
Defensive pressure and substitutions that came in that were ready to play. I have a sophomore, Lindsay Treader, whose minutes can be sparse here and there depending on the game situation. She was readily available. She stepped in. She forced some turnovers. She got some layups. But overall, it was a team effort defensively. We moved the ball. Different people were playing unselfishly. We got good shots. We were able to knock them down. And then once we got the lead, we didn't falter. We didn't let them get easy baskets moving forward.
Garnet Valley's 15-2. That's a great win for you guys.
It was a great win. We came off a big win from O'Hara, and we talked about wanting to roll, as we go into this final stretch of the Catholic League game. So it was good for us to face a really good team in Garnet Valley and come out with the result that we wanted to, especially, when we wanted to all head out and go see the Eagles play.
Exactly.
But again, a lot of good basketball games, not many blowouts there, so it's competitive. The matchups were done well, and really good day of basketball at U Sciences.
Sounds like a successful day of basketball. Up next, we have the District 12 Catholic League, which is also the league that you play in. Go ahead.
Things are heating up in the Philadelphia Catholic League. I mentioned 17-0 Archbishop Ryan. They went in and faced O'Hara on Tuesday. O'Hara suffered a loss to us last Friday, and then Mara Hendrickson popped her shoulder out. Unfortunately, they played Southern Lehigh, who's one of the top 5A schools in Pennsylvania, and they went in the next day and played without her. They suffered a loss to Southern Lehigh, and then bounced back on Tuesday. They were facing Ryan. Ryan, again, they were undefeated in our league, undefeated overall, and O'Hara was able to overcome a 34-28 deficit going into the fourth quarter and win that game by 2. So both teams kind of looking to see where they are. Ryan did this last year. They were undefeated all season. They went down to this final stretch, and they lost a lot of games in a row. So they're going to have to bounce back. They have a lot of tough upcoming matchups, so they're going to have to bounce back from that. O'Hara didn't want to go on a skid. They were able to end that skid. Mackenzie Glarther ended up with 24 points in the game. Most of those came in the second half. Monet Moore led Ryan with 17 points. Super athletic kid, only a junior, can slash. She defends. Really gets up and finishes around the rim. So Ryan's just going to have to figure it out come tomorrow with another big matchup.
What do you think exactly it is that they need to do to kind of, stay in the game or win?
Archbishop Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan.
Well, they were in the game. I don't know what happened in the fourth quarter exactly. It looks like O'Hara shot the ball pretty well from the line, 10 for 11 in the fourth quarter. So it could be that they have to foul a little less, maybe move their feet, go straight up. Again, I don't know what broke down for them. I didn't see the game personally, but from what I'm reading, it's just they had the lead. That pressure situation happened, and this is kind of where you find out if you should have played maybe some more competitive games during the season for these situations. When you're in these tough moments, how do you respond? But they have, they're 7-1 in the league, so they have 4 league games left at least to kind of figure that out. They'll be tested. If they can get a win and get over the hump, they might be confident moving forward into the playoffs, and that's really what it's all about, is getting into the playoffs and playing at a high level at that point.
Is O'Hara a team that's got a lot of seniors?
So they,
I know these kids have played together since they were freshmen. I'm just not sure if they're juniors, seniors, where they're at this point.
So they've played 5 kids for the last 3 years, majority of the minutes. 2 graduated. Now they have Molly Paolino, Mackenzie Gardler, and Mara Hendrickson, who are leading the team this year as their seniors. They got Emily Helms as a senior who comes in off the bench. She can really shoot it. And another senior who does the same thing. But they now have a mixture of some younger kids. They have a junior and Kerry Patterson, who hit a big shot against us to send it in overtime, banked in a 3. And then Siobhan, forgive me, I've lost her name, but another freshman who's number 10. She's about 5'10". She's athletic. She's strong. She's kind of getting confidence. You're starting to see her in more games, getting more minutes, starting to take tougher shots. She hit 2 threes against us in a low-scoring affair that was a nail-biter. So she's a confident kid. Look for her more as the playoffs come around.
Sounds good. And then on the other end with the District 12 Public League, I know you saw a couple of the games.
I saw a couple of games this past week. On Tuesday, I saw Franklintown Charter and Philadelphia Academy Charter. Both of them are going to the playoffs. They're in the Public League Liberty Division, and the last time I was at Franklintown, their floor was like a swimming pool. It was, everything had warmed up. After we went through the big freeze, like 90-degree days. Then all of a sudden it was 60, and we had 3 floors in the Public League that day that had too much condensation on them. We had to call the games off. But their floor was perfect this time, and a young lady named Skylar Thompson scored 17 points for them. In the fourth quarter, she hit a pair of 3-pointers, and one of those threes came from the right of the key with 40 seconds left and gave them the lead 39-37. And then she hit a free throw with 18 seconds left to seal the deal. So Franklintown is one of those teams that they're well coached, and they'll be heard from in the playoffs. For Philadelphia Academy Charter, which I'm not sure that they've had the season that they were looking for. I saw their first game of the year, and they were looking for a big year, but they had some injury problems, and they don't seem to have really recovered from that. A young lady named Casey Bivenauer had 10 points in that game, and they have a nice center in there, Lauren Beck. She had 8 points. So that was the one game. Then yesterday, I saw Fells at Edison, which is from our Colonial Division. Edison's undefeated, and Edison's a feel-good story this year because last year they didn't win a game. So this year they're undefeated, and they have a couple of good players, and their names are I wrote these down. Delilah Serrano and Thais Torres, 2 real nice guards. They can move the ball around the court. They can shoot well. They ended up beating Fells on an off day. Fells came into the game 6-3, but 2 of their best players were out, so they ended up losing 41-23. So those are the games I saw this week.
So really quick,
Yep.
I don't want to cut you off, but we have a Facebook comment.
Facebook comment.
Yes. Do you know someone named Steve Taylor?
Steve Taylor, he was my younger brother's best friend and family neighbor.
So hey Steve, we got your comment. Just wanted to give you a shout out before we continue. So
Franklintown Charter soccer player.
Oh, really?
Alumni, yeah, in his glory day. Yeah.
They got a beautiful new gym in the old Frankfurt Arsenal, and they just started playing games there full time this season. So both the boys and the girls. It's a real nice facility.
Sounds good. All right, back to what you were saying. Sorry.
Okay. Well, just as in the Catholic League, things in the public league are starting to tighten up. In the Independence Division, the two best teams in the league, Imhotep and Mastery Charter North, are 7-0 and 7-1 respectively. They'll meet, I believe, next week. So that could end up tying up the division, and then I got to figure out a tiebreaker, to see who's going to be the number one seed in the playoffs.
Make your job harder, huh?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
In our Liberty division, Alney is still undefeated. They're 9-0, and they're having a real nice season. Prep Charter, Mastery Charter South, they're all within a game of each other, so that's going to come down to the wire. In the National Conference, we have a four-way tie for first right now. They're all 7-1. And that's Sankofa, Girls High, Dobbins, and Mass Civics and Science. It'll ease up a little bit tomorrow. Dobbins and Sankofa are meeting down at Dobbins, so I'm going to go to that game. And over in the American, we have three teams. Paul Robeson, Mass Bomb, and Parkway Northwest are all within a game of each other. And as I mentioned, in the Colonial, we have Edison, it's undefeated. And we have Constitution, it's also undefeated, and they'll be meeting, I believe, next week, which is a game I'm sure going to make sure I get to. Excuse me. Last week I mentioned something that Mike wasn't aware of, and we had an announcement that the Public League and the Catholic League were going to meet for a city title game. Well, that's now not true.
Wait, so before we continue, we're going to take a quick break. So when we come back, we'll give you guys more updates about that topic. So it should be interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've spent 3 days with one of the most insane program, okay, I have witnessed in my 17-year career. It excites me, the presence of point blank period, of Coach Dooley, of Coach Fowler, of the people that he works out with, that he trains with, okay? It's exciting. And you have had the luxury of spending 3 awesome days with these people. I watched Coach Fowler play. Okay? Mr. Cole, you watch Coach Fowler play? He is one of the most annoying basketball players you will ever see in your life. Okay? Because exactly what he trains, exactly what he preaches to you, he does at all times. This is real habit. This is not a gimmick. This is real basketball. Real basketball. Something that he has found success with. He has spread the word.
All right, welcome back. So I wanted to leave you guys a little cliffhanger. So Joe was saying that the city title game is canceled, and why is that?
Well,
what happened?
There was a meeting in Mechanicsburg with the PIAA yesterday, and I got an email from Joe Setti, who is on the District 12. He's the vice president of District 12, and he was at the PIAA meeting yesterday. And according to PIAA President Dr. Robert Lombardi, no games after February 27th, which is when they're in district playoffs. No teams can play outside of their classification. So, as most people are aware, there's 6 classifications in the state of Pennsylvania, 6A being the highest population schools, 1A being the lowest. The possibility was if we took the true champion from the Catholic League and the true champion from the Public League, you might have a 4A team playing a 2A team or a 6A team playing a 3A team. That's not allowed according to the PIAA. So what I imagine will happen, and I haven't heard this officially, but we'll probably go back to the old system where Archbishop Wood and 5A, if they get that far, may end up playing Mastery Charter North, which is the 5A team from the Public League, and they would declare the winner of that game a city champion.
Well, I think I kind of agree with that a little bit, because you wouldn't want to watch, who would want to watch a game from a 6A team to a 1A team playing against each other? I feel like it would be unbalanced in that sense. So
It could be, but at the end of it, if you're playing a little tournament or if you're taking the winner versus the top winner, then you really just have a championship instead of a classification, the champion for each classification.
But it comes back to... Right, sorry. It can be done to make it, better so it's competitive versus like these big powerhouse teams playing against these smaller schools who really don't stand a chance. So I think it can be done so that there is a, champion for the state of Pennsylvania, but not in the way that they were talking.
It would be nice to figure something out. It would be nice to have an overall city champion. Like we mentioned last week, it would be nice to have an overall state champion. Mm-hmm. And I would like PIAA to allow teams to compete for the national championship as well. But unfortunately, once the state championship is over, teams aren't allowed to play any more games after that date. So you can't compete for the national championship while you're in the PIAA either.
And once you get to the postseason, Newman Goretti is a 2A school?
Newman Goretti's 3A.
3A?
3A, number one in 3A right now.
They're very competitive with 5A and 6A schools. So once you get to the postseason and, those teams are competing for district and state championships, in their own league playoffs, they're very, very competitive.
We'll see. Maybe we can keep pushing for it every week. We're like, well, it would be a good idea. But
we'd love to see it.
Yeah, we'll
see what happens.
Yeah, over time maybe if we're lucky. So District 1 Suburban League. I know you also had some games you watched from that you want to share with us.
Well, it just stood out to me that Souderton from the Suburban 1 Continental Conference is really on a roll. They're just really playing great basketball right now. They beat Jenkintown last week. Handed Jenkintown their first loss of the season, 57-35. Megan Beeler scored 20 points in the game, and then Souderton played Central Bucks East and went to double overtime before a winner could be decided. Played 2.5 hours after Souderton's coach gave birth to a boy. So the interim coach Ben Bowman, led the way with this, and they were up 31-20 midway through the third quarter. But by the end of regulation, it was 40-40. It stayed that way for like the last minute 15 of regulation. Sophia Mancuso from East sank a free throw in the first overtime to tie it 43-all, sent it to a second overtime. But then Beeler and Alana Cardona scored in the second overtime to give them a 48-45 win. So that was a big gut check for them.
Yeah, Liz Potash does a really nice job with CB East. This is, it seems to be year after year, they might start off a little slower and all of a sudden they start beating the teams that are at the top of the league, and then it becomes this super competitive league all of a sudden. It's the same thing now. They got a big win over CB South, I believe, and then they went in a double overtime with Souderton, who's playing at the highest level you can play at right now. So just doing a really good job, and that should be a fun league to follow as the season progresses.
Right, and as Mike said earlier, Central Bucks South seems to be back on the right track. They picked up a nice win beating Penridge 59-40. Haley Meinl 31 points in that game. So a big game for her. And over in the National Conference, Neshaminy is still playing really well. They're undefeated in the conference. They're 7-0. They beat Ben Salem 50-21. Brooke Mullen scored 13 points in that game. Earlier in the week, they beat Villa Joseph Marie from the Catholic Academies League, and she had 19 points in that game. So big week for Brooke Mullen. She's got some nice supporting cast there, but she'll probably lead them down the stretch. Never. Okay. I thought you had something from Suburban 1.
Well, I could piggyback. I just want to, a credit to Jenkintown, who's a 1A school. They've had a lot of games, lopsided wins right now, and they challenge themselves scheduling Souderton, who's one of the top 6A schools. So we just mentioned, being a one classification up here, another classification down here, challenging themselves to play in that kind of game, trying to prepare themselves for a state run again. Jenkintown has a really nice team. You don't read a ton about them because they're such a small school, but they have the Kremp twins, the Cobb twins, 2 sets of twins on a team.
Wow.
You got the Mulvaney sisters. They're all pretty good players, and they're starting to really make a nice run. It was nice to see them challenge their team, but with a matchup like Souderton.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's important for the coaches to try to schedule at least one game like that, to where, you know, you test your players and see, you know, that's where you really find the weaknesses in certain teams. And when you play like the bigger teams, like, okay,
Right.
you can play teams, you know, equivalent to your skill set or maybe even lower, and you seem like this great team, like everything's good, but, you know, challenge your girls. It makes more sense and makes them better.
Absolutely. That's what we try to do at Wood all the time. Play the best teams, win or lose, you're going to know what you have to work on, and then when those tight games come up again, you're more ready for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the girls may not understand why, you know, they may have lost to a better team, but, you know, in the long run, I think it all works out.
I think so. But also in District 1, speaking of bounce back games, you mentioned CB South bouncing back over St. Basil's. St. Basil's from that point moved on to Villa Maria Academy out of District 1, who's having a great season, but beat Basil's the first time around, and now Basil's was able to get I think a 16 or 17 point win over them to kind of bounce back and make that Philadelphia Catholic Academies League a little bit tighter. They'll have other matchups later in the season to try to bounce back from previous losses as well. But, you know, a credit to St. Basil's took a tough loss Sunday morning, and then by Tuesday was able to get a tough win over Villa Maria Academy.
On Suburban 1 standings, as I said, Neshaminy undefeated. Council Rock North is right behind them. I'm not sure when they meet, but that would really be a nice match there. Council Rock North just crushed Council Rock South this past week in a neighborhood rivalry, and Abington's right there with them. So, you know, they're always going to be you know, trouble. In the Continental, Souderton's in first place. CB South and CB West kind of you know, hasn't been noticed that much, but they're 6-2. They're tied for second. CB West is kind of CB East has kind of fallen back a little bit. They're 5-3. And in the American Conference, you've got Plymouth White Marsh is still undefeated. They're 9-0 in the conference, 14-1 overall. And Upper Dublin's right there at 8-1.
They'll see each other soon, I believe.
Yeah.
Another comment on Facebook. For me, I feel honored.
Okay.
Tucker Greenberg says, do you guys know him?
I know him well. I know
Hi,
him well.
Tucker.
Hey, Tucker.
Hello, Tucker.
He said we might need to get Nikki the ball more.
He's referring to his niece, Nicki Greenberg.
Aw.
Unfortunately, not you, Nikki. So Nicki Greenberg is a senior for us.
Okay.
She just came back from a dislocated finger injury. Really athletic, runs the floor like a gazelle, can finish around the rim.
That, you know what? That sounds like me as a player, honestly. I'm not even joking.
So maybe he's not. Maybe I'm not
I
sure.
know,
Maybe
maybe we're related or something.
Knowing Uncle Tuck, I think he's talking about his niece Nikki, who is back playing and is doing a lot of things for us. Really can defend a lot of kids because of her length. You might know her
position is
sister. Her
she?
sister Bailey's the one that's playing in
Bailey.
Trexel.
Okay.
Yeah, she's like a wing slasher.
Okay.
You know, she's about 5. She doesn't like when I call her 5'10", but she's about 5'9", 5'10". She wants to be 5'8".
Okay. Taller is
Sorry,
better.
Nikki, but I think she's 5'9" or 5'10". And again, super athletic. But we get whoever's open the ball.
Yeah.
Uncle Tuck will understand.
The Greenbergs are a great Archbishop Wood family going way back.
Great Archbishop Wood family,
Tucker
passionate about
and-
the game. Kathy's been my assistant since I've started as a head coach, and when I started as an assistant at Wood, came on the same time as me, so a great friend of mine as well.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Tucker, for that comment, and good luck to Bailey this weekend. They play Friday and Sunday for our alumni weekend, so I'm excited about that.
Bailey's playing really well as well.
Yeah, she
Proud of
is.
you, Bailey.
So if you're watching somewhere out there. Okay, so we have the District 11 power rankings and standings.
Well, let me just touch on the District 1 power
I'm sorry,
rankings
yes,
real quick.
District 1, you're right.
Souderton, because of their play, has moved up from number 3 to number 1 this week. Central Bucks South stays at number 2, and Springford dropped from number 1 down to number 3. In 5A, you've got, excuse me, Westchester Henderson. They're still undefeated at 15-0. They're number 1. Westchester Ruston moved up from 3 to 2, and they're 12-2. And Villa Maria, they dropped from 2 to number 3. In 4A, they're all the same this week. Lower Moreland, Gwynedd Mercy, and Nazareth Academy. In 3A, this confused me because I saw North Schuylkill at the top of the 3A, but there's a District 1-11 sub-regional, so there's a couple of District 11 teams in there, but St. Basil's is number 2, and New Hope Soulbury is number 4. In 2A, you got Sacred Heart, Delco Christian, and Calvary Christian. Christopher Dock has moved up from 5th to 4th, and Single A, a couple of public league teams have moved into the picture. They weren't there last week. Parkway Northwest is the number 1 team in 1A. Jenkintown, Christian Academy, and Sankofa. So the top 6 make that, so they're right there.
So what do you think about the top 2 teams battling it out?
Which ones? I'm sorry.
The Jenkintown versus...
versus Parkway Northwest.
Yeah.
Well, the power rankings aren't always that accurate. Jenkintown's really probably the top team in that classification. I don't know anything about the Christian Academy, but I'm sorry. And Sankofa is probably at this point a better team than Parkway Northwest. So those are just based on their records right now, who they've played, and the records of the teams they've played. It's a very complex formula they go through to figure this out. And so I would say realistically, Jenkintown is probably the top team in that classification.
All right, sounds good. So we have right after, you have the District 11 power rankings and some standings from them.
Okay. Well, in the Eastern Pennsylvania Conference, in the Steel Division, they've got 3 divisions in this league. Bethlehem Catholic and Easton right now each have 1 loss, and they meet next Friday in Bethlehem, so that should be a big game. Easton's seniors this year have broken a school record with 78 wins in their 4 years. So right now they're on a 12-game winning streak. So Easton is. So
based on that momentum, do you think they'll come out on top with that game?
It's being played in Bethlehem, so and the people up in District 11 love their basketball, so that's probably going to be a packed gym for that one.
That sounds like a great environment to be in.
So in the Skyline Division, you've got Nazareth and Allentown Central Catholic both beat Parkland last week. Parkland had been leading that conference. So those losses put Northampton into first place, and Parkland, Allentown Central Catholic, and Nazareth were all a game back there. In the Mountain Division, this is all the schools up in the Poconos, Stroudsburg actually went 16 seasons without a title, and they look like they're on their way to their 2nd straight title, so Stroudsburg's doing really well there. In the Colonial League, in the Eastern Conference, Notre Dame's in good shape to win their 2nd title. And in the Western Conference, we've mentioned Southern Lehigh. Southern Lehigh is in good position right now to win their 6th title in 8 years. So they're a very talented team, and as Mike said, they're one of the top 5 teams in the state in 5A, I believe, right?
Yeah, 2 Division I commits on their team. Olivia Snyder. I'm not certain that she's committed somewhere yet or not. And then Mobley, point guard. Forget her first name, but there's a girl, Mobley, on their team, I believe committed to Ryder. So 2 Division I kids. I watched them play last year versus O'Hara when they came into town. They just beat O'Hara this year. O'Hara beat them last year. But so they're returning kids. One's a junior, the other one's a senior. So they're experienced, they're older, they can make a run. I'm not sure what else they have around them, but with those two kids, and I know it's enough. Olivia Snyder has great size and athleticism. She's stretching the floor. She jumps over players to shoot the ball when she's near the basket. Mobley has great change of speed, shoots it from the outside, and can distribute the ball as well. So look for them to make a run in states in the 5A class.
Yeah, Olivia Snyder, she's a junior. She's averaging 17.2 points per game. Amanda Mobley, she's a senior. She's averaging 11.6 points per game. So some of the scoring leaders from the Lehigh Valley. Kaylee Kovac, we mentioned her last week. She's from Jim Thorpe. She tore her knee up and she's out for the season, but she's still leading the area with 26.1 points per game. Right behind her, and actually right down the road there, Skylyn Faust from Lee Heighton is averaging 25.2 points per game. She's a senior. So that's what we have coming from District 11. We have the power rankings. We'll go over those real quick. In 5A, you got Southern Lehigh, obviously. In 4A, Bethlehem Catholic and Lee Heighton, along with Northwestern Lehigh. And 2A, Minersville, we mentioned them last week. And Montanoy area, they're 13-2. They're right behind Minersville. And in single A, you got Susquehanna and Salem Christian. So that's the District 11.
All right, so let's bring it down a little and go to District 2 for the last bit of power rankings.
Okay. In single A, you've got Susquehanna. And 2A, you've got Old Forge, and right now they're leading 2A and they're under 500. They're at 7 and 8. 3A, and probably the reason for that is you got a lot of schools playing in conferences with bigger schools, so they may not be doing well against 6A and 5A and 4A schools, but so they're at the top of the 2A rankings at 7 and 8. Got three really close teams in 3A, Holy Redeemer, Dunmore, and Holy Cross. And 4A, we've got Nanticoke, Scranton Prep, and the Wyoming area. 5A, you got Crestwood, Wallen Paulpack, and Abington Heights. And in 6A, Scranton's 11 and 5, and Hazleton's behind them at 9 and 5. So things are starting to heat up in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area.
It's almost time for another break. We're going to take a quick break really quick and then come back and go over some state rankings and possibly, if we have time, go over some more upcoming games. So stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hi, I'm Marty Bystrom, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. In my experience in Major League Baseball, I know how important it is for high school athletes to gain exposure. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
Welcome back. As promised, we're going to go over some state rankings for you. Mike has some of those for you. We're going to go over the top two from 6A all the way down to 1A.
Yeah, going to give you the top two in 6A. North Allegheny and Springford. North Allegheny is number one. They were in the state final last year. They dropped it to Boyertown, but another strong team this season. Unfortunately, I don't know much about their individual players, but I expect them to make a run in states as well. And then Springford really coming on strong at 14-0 this season. I think surprising a lot of people. Maybe they have some up-and-coming kids that people didn't know about, but they're really playing at a high level this season at 14-0. And Soderton chasing them right behind. Obviously, we talked a lot about Soderton, so expect them to maybe make the leap or at least make a run in states to compete with those top two teams. In 5A, your home biased school here, Archbishop Wood is listed at 5A. I'm really proud of our team. We've been listed there. This is the third straight year that we've maintained that number one line. It's just great recognition, and I'm proud of their kids for playing at a high level to keep it there. And then Archbishop Carroll is number two. So we'll face them tomorrow night. So that's 5A. Just in our league with those classifications, we only send two teams from our district, from our leagues. Two publics will go. This is usually 1-1, 1-2, depending on who wins the seeding game. But we're going to send two from our league. So Archbishop Wood, Archbishop Carroll, and Archbishop Ryan, 1, 2, and 3 in the 5A rankings right now. Only two of us will make it out of our league to go into states. So a lot on the line in these upcoming weeks. But in 4A, we have Cardinal World North Catholic, and then number 2, Lancaster Catholic with Kiki Jefferson, who we talked a lot about last year after she scored 1,500 points. So look for those two teams down the stretch, and Bethlehem Catholic chasing them from behind. 3A, Newman Goretti, familiar spot for them at the top. Look for them late in the states as well. And Dunmore, who's been up there, who's given Goretti tough games in the past in state playoffs, but Goretti's come up on top each time. So to keep an eye on Dunmore and Newman Goretti as states go on. Excuse me. 2A, we have Minersville, went undefeated last year, won a state championship in 2A. They're right now 11-1, maybe 12-1, depending on if they played since these rankings came out. And Vincentian Academy, who won the state championship over Goretti a couple years ago. They're back. I watched them. They're 13-1. I saw their one loss to West Catholic from our league in a preseason tournament, the She Got Game Classic. It was a back-and-forth game, so look for Vincentian and Minersville in the 2A class to make a run. And in 1A, it's Bishop Carroll, not to be confused with Archbishop Carroll from our league, but Bishop Carroll out of District 6, I believe. They're at 13-1, and North Clarion out of District 9, who is 13-0. So check them out in the 1A. Again, Jenkintown not in the top 2. They're 4, but I'd expect Jenkintown to make a late run as well.
And then do you have, really quick, any couple upcoming games that people should look forward to?
Sure do. I have a few of them. In our league, actually O'Hara and Prendy are playing tonight. That should be a good game. We just had a battle with Prendy the other night where we were able to come out on top. But Prendy has a lot of size. They have a really quick guard in Dakota McClellan who handles the ball better than anybody I've seen at that age and better than a lot of people that are in college right now. Just can absolutely handle the basketball. And Dakota McClellan, she's only a sophomore. Keep an eye on her. But that's going on tonight. Ryan and Newman Goretti play tomorrow. So Ryan's going to look to end that skid, and Newman Goretti's going to look to continue their undefeated season in the Philadelphia Catholic League. We have Neshaminy and Abington coming up tomorrow night. Again, Neshaminy got the win over them earlier in the season. This is the rubber band game, I believe they call it. Maybe not. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Why is it called that?
I think I could disregard. But Abington's going to look to get revenge and get a win over Neshaminy tomorrow night. And then Neshaminy plays Council Rock North on Tuesday as well. And then Council Rock North plays Neshaminy. I'm sorry, Abington plays Council Rock North on Tuesday, and Neshaminy plays Council Rock North on Friday the 2nd. But so we got Ryan Goretti, Prendy, O'Hara tonight. Basil's versus the Mount on Saturday. Mount was able to get a win over Basels early in the season, so Basels looks to bounce back, not a rubber band, but bounce back, and get a win on Saturday over Mount.
I'm going to use that one.
Yeah. If you can come out to Franklin High School in New Jersey, we're going to play Rumson Fairhaven in a college showcase game. They have a Torrey Duke who's averaging 29 points a game.
Wow.
High-level player.
And when's
a
this game?
Powerhouse out of New Jersey. That's Saturday night, 5:15 at Franklin High School in New Jersey. And then CB South plays CB West next week. That should be another good game. And CB South also plays CB East again, so look for another battle there.
Sounds like a lot of great matchups to look forward to for next week. So we'll be talking to you guys about that. Any final words, Joe? Anything you want to mention?
We have approximately 2 weeks left in the regular season, and things are really starting to heat up, and really it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the way things shake out in the Catholic League, the Public League, and the Suburban One actually. So
right, a lot of games that we're going to find out who's going to states, who's going to be in the playoffs, who's going to have top seedings, home court advantage, maybe in a quarterfinal, things like that going on in the next week or two.
Yep.
Sounds good. So thank you guys so much for watching once again. We will be back next Thursday and a few Thursdays after that, 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. Basically just helping, recapping some basketball, telling you guys what's up next, what to look forward to, and as we get closer to some tournament games, things will get a lot more juicier. You can always watch In the Paint episodes by going to the iTunes store and searching Sports Fan Base Network. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe, download, all that good stuff, but most importantly, make sure you give us a 5-star rating, of course.
That means you, Tucker.
Exactly. Don't miss our other shows. We have 3 in the Key on Monday nights talking about high school boys basketball. We have On the Mat Tuesday nights, and then our all-new show, Varsity Voice, on Wednesday nights. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe and go to our website, which is www.thesfbn.com. I'm going to say that one more time. www.thesfbn.com. And just check out everything that we have there. Everything on high school sports, pretty much. We're covering everything we possibly can with the staff that we have. So we will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.